Okay, hello, good evening, everyone. I'm so glad to welcome you here on the Free Between Academy event that today is dedicated to a sphere of the tech industry of project management. My name is Ronika, I'm event manager at Between Academy, and today with David, our speaker and teacher, we're about to discover the world of project management and also to help you guide along. We'll cover both, let's say, theoretical part, but also practical exercise to help you get along with the topic. We'll discuss a bit about the general vibe and approach at Butut Academy, as this is the institution that we are basing off this webinar it. And also, of course, we'll have a separate time and place for a Q&A session, which I believe is the most valuable part of the event, because this is a great opportunity for you to ask questions directly, not to Google or ChatGPT, though those are also reliable sources, but to a real life expert who can get you customized answers to your exact question and your exact background and experience and direction you're about to set for yourself. So please don't be shy. Let's use this opportunity as the main communication tool. We'll have our YouTube live chat. So I invite you go all there and let's try and set it up. So can you please write, first of all, if you can see and hear me well, if you see the slides presenting on the screen, and also if you don't mind mentioning where you're from. So what is the geography of today's event? That would be really cool to see. And while I'm waiting for the responses, let me also cover the main organizational questions before we actually proceed to the main topic. So one of the most common questions will be the recording sent to you? Of course, to all the participants who registered for the event, you will have the recording. It will be sent to you in the emails to the address that you used for the registration of the event, so you won't miss anything. Alongside with the recording, you will also get all the materials we are mentioning, like this presentation, and of course, all the bonuses. But the biggest and I believe the most valuable bonus is for the people who stay till the end with us online. So please make sure to stay till the end. In case you can't make it, of course, you'll have the record to, come back and to check on the most important information, but without one of the bonuses. So if you can, please stay with us. As for the timing, we aim to get ready in like 90 minutes. So it's hour and a half for you to all to rely on something. Again, if you can't make it till the end because of any causes that you have, that's all right. But let's try and stick to the timing. The most valuable thing will be the practical exercise and the Q&A session, of course. So we'll try our best both to stick to the timing, but also to have enough time to practice what we have prepared for you. And of course, to answer all of your questions, both the one that you have sent in the registration form, but also with those we'll see in the live chat at YouTube. So please, no worries, nothing will be missed, but it can influence a little bit on the timing. So just, And with that being said, I hope the general connection is all right. You can see, you can hear me. And yeah, I suggest that we move forward. And the first word goes to you, David. Could you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your personal experience?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. So my name is David Mantic ethnically, but in English, feel free to call me David. I am based in Prague, Czech Republic, and I currently work for IBM here as a project manager. Sometimes I take on the role of the Scrum Master, and I have experience with the IT, automotive industry, and also some other learning platforms. And it's a really pleasure to see you here to guide you through this a brief webinar, and hopefully some of you I'll see in a couple of days from now. So that'll be about me, and I think we can proceed with the next slides. So I think I've mentioned everything. So it was from the heart, it wasn't from the slides. So if you then have any kind of questions, feel free to ask them, as Veronica said during the chat, and I'll also do my best to answer also questions related directly to me or to the project management role.
Yeah, so now let's take a look at our today's aims. The program is quite intense, I dare say. So let's see the main blocks, the main parts. So first of all, of course, in the introduction to the PM profession, PM is short for project management. I think we use this abbreviation a lot, so just. So we are going to tell you what does a project manager do in his or her like day-to-day professional life. What are the examples of real tasks and what a working day may look for you as like a professional in this sphere? Then, of course, we'll have a small practice. We are going to work on a risk register together. In case you don't know what it is, please no worries. We'll come to it in its time and explain you everything. But we'll have a small practice at that. Now, of course, a couple of words about the Tutor Academy. We are going to discuss everything about our course, our learning management system, our approach to learning and studying, of course, and then we're going to move to the Q&A session, as I have mentioned, at the end, but one of the most important parts. And the last, but certainly not least part of the webinar is the exclusive offer for those who stay with us till the end online. So that's about it. You can write all the questions for the Q&A session throughout the whole event in the live chat. Also use it, like feel free to comment on materials in case you don't get something, maybe the connection is lost, whatever it is. We will come back to it at the Q&A session for the questions, but for the comments or mentions, I'll try my best to keep up with them and to discuss them as they go. So I think that's all that is for this slide. And before we start, I also have a small activity as an icebreaker, one of the techniques, for example, project managers, I believe, use a lot. And for today's icebreaker, we have prepared a small scale of cat from 1 to 7 with different illustrations that I hope can help us understand your mood today. So today it's Monday, the first day of the working week. I think we can feel a bit differently. Someone likes Monday, someone not. That's okay. So if you would like, please, can you pick the cat that illustrates your mood the best as you came to the webinar and put the number of the cat to the live chat. And while I'm waiting for the responses, Jared, the same goes to you. Which cat are you today? Which illustration represents your mood the best?
I'm thinking, because it could be the combination in my case. I think I'm 4 and 6 because yeah, I need to be calm. I need to be ready for the workshop. But I think my energy level are quite okay. I'm a night owl, so I'm good with that. So I would say combination between 4 and 6.
Yeah, pretty good. For me, I would say I'm also a combination, but actually between 2 and 3. For me, Monday today was a bit hard. I had a lot of work. So as soon as the event ends, I'll be honest, I'll just like curl up on the sofa with a great book and call it a day. But I also think that during the event, I'm going to be number 3. We both, are number 3. There's 2 cats in the windows just sitting and talking around. I see the response number 1. Let's roll. I think that's one of the greatest moods, to start the event. So you are energized, you're ready to take in the information. I think that's great. I hope we all have a bit of kit number 1 in us. Yeah, thank you so much for the responses. I will come back to them if they appear any of the cats. And then I suggest moving forward. And I think we shall start with the general introduction to the topic, right? So we all are talking the same language and use the same terms and really understand what they mean. So before we actually start with the terms, yeah, and the explanations that David is about to provide us, my first question to all of you guys is, in your own words, how would you define a project? Because again, we're talking about project management. So what is a project for you? It can be as short or as long of a term that you can make up. I'm really looking forward to see all the responses. And while I'm waiting for your guys' answers, I'm really curious to know, like, David, how was your way to, switching into the project manager career? Were you always inclined to that, or are you also a switcher from like a completely different
Yeah.
sphere?
So I actually started during my university studies. There was this platform for freelancers slash students where basically we're supposed to work out or work on some innovative ideas. There was always an assignment that you need to finish in time, and then you hopefully want some awards or you want some money. And for that, it was really interesting to be there because every company came to this platform with a specific assignment with the specific deliverables and you need to deliver. You had your room for the creativity, but you had those attributes that we'll then talk about what the attributes for the project are. And for me, it was really interesting to kind of grasp this concept that I need to come up with something and I need to make something happen, either idea or process, but I need to make something happen. And this is how I kind of fell in love with the project management slash innovation management. You know, those words and buzzwords keep changing. And it was also during the time when there was a lot of startups, there was a lot of hyper startups. So with that, like that kind of combination brought me to the projects. And it was like the combination of the projects, products, and but we'll maybe discuss later on what the differences are. So that's how I got into the project management.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. So we have a response. I will read it to you. So a project is complex task, a mission in some way, I think.
Huh?
So what do you think? Is it a correct answer?
Yeah, in this case, I would rather consider it to be a subset for the project because we'll discuss that the project consists of a number of tasks that have some dependencies, that have some maybe order, and they need to be met in order to meet some final goal with the given set of time, with the given set of budget, and with the given set of quality. So those are the aspects we'll talk about. But to me, it's like a portion of what the project represents, but we usually start with the small portions. We try to break it down, and I think you've done it correctly. You identify the item that a project is building upon.
Okay, so then let's move forward. Could you tell us what is a
Yeah,
project,
so
project management in general, and everything?
of course. So I tried to kind of disclose the answer in a previous comment, and I'll just keep switching, you know, because my camera is here, and the screen is here. Every institution like defines the project in a slightly different way. But in this case, in the Project Management Institute, I think it's American based authority for the projects. I would draw your attention to like specific keywords. So according to the Project Management Institute, one of the main international project management trainings and certifications organizations, a project is a set of temporary activities to create a unique product, service, or result. In other words, it is a set of time-limited actions to solve a problem or achieve a specific goal. I would like to comment on the fact that there might be a difference between a project in your case and a process. If you keep repeating something, it's not a project anymore because project has beginning, end. You have to meet the goals, you have to meet specific quality aspects, and you have to be within the budget. If you keep repeating that, it's not a project anymore. So it needs to be really uniquely created, and every project has an end. So that would be slight comments on those on that specific definition by the PMI. And then we can maybe there will be questions like, okay, what is the difference between the project manager, program manager, product owner, stuff like that. So feel free to ask, and I will go through those type of questions during the Q&A. All right, I think we can move to the next slide. Yeah. So again, I was slightly giving you the heads up. So successful project, you need to meet specific criteria. So it's done on time, in scope, and budget. And that's the so-called three imperative. You have time, scope, a budget. Uh, I know we don't have enough time for that during this webinar, but those are the aspects we'll then discuss during the training. We'll talk about the training. Those usually three types: time, scope, and budget. Sometimes when you reduce one, you have to, or when you want to increase one, you have to reduce the other. So it's like three imperative. And it's like if you shrink something, like something needs to expand. Or if you want to expand something, someone needs to shrink. For example, if your client would tell you like, okay, we would like to have this specific project, this is our budget, and we would like to have it delivered in the 3 months. You do the initial assessment and you'll say, okay, we can deliver this scope with a given budget, but not in 3 months, but in 4 months. What is your like ask? What is your feedback? And then you basically have to negotiate. Once it's negotiated, it is met. This is what you take as a three imperative. This is your baseline. And from it, you need to continuously check it because if you're over the budget, if you're over the time, if you're over the scope, you should end right because yeah, it's really critical for you to be really cautious about those aspects to be met. Customer and end clients are satisfied. So those are the things you need to really discuss early on with the clients, with the customers, what the expectations are, what are the success criteria, what are the acceptance criteria, so to speak, for them, that it's meeting specific quality and we are happy with the product. And those are the kind of questions you need to consult early on at the beginning or before the project even starts. And then you have to meet the quality standards set by the customer, laws, or regulations, depending on the industry you're in. Like, for example, if you're in IT, you're usually following the specific specifications or certifications or authority regulations, like ISO, some numbers. Then you have to follow some protocols. You have to follow GDPR, so the laws for the European Union, maybe laws for the United States of America or some other region. So you really have to be cautious whether you're not meeting the quality aspects given by the client, but also given by the law. Because if you don't know about them, it's actually your fault and you have to be really cautious about those stuff. All right, and let's talk about the typical tasks for the project manager. So I was mentioning that three imperative: time, quality, or scope, and budget. And all the aspects or all the tasks that the project manager has are related to the three imperative. You have to continuously check budget, monitoring, seeing the spending, understanding the financial cycles, and so on. Then about the scope, depending on the way how the project is being delivered, either in a waterfall approach, which means it's more standardized approach where you know all the criteria at the beginning of the project and then you just deliver them. But then you have to monitor whether you're meeting all the aspects: time, scope, and budget, or you will be working in a more agile way. I know maybe I'm using the terms that you're not familiar with, but agile means that it's a slightly different way of approaching your project. And a project manager needs to know that, because based on that, you will be monitoring all the aspects of the project being fulfilled. And then, yeah, documentation is quite heavy. So project manager not only monitors, but sometimes you need to meet specific regulations. You need to speak with the other stakeholders. You have to provide the reports. You have to create presentation. You have to fill out the tasks. You need to maybe talk with the lawyers and so on. So there's a lot of documentation in place, but luckily today with the AI, with automation, is also helping project managers to be more active. A project manager controls the schedule and task execution. I think it's also crucial to mention that there's a really thin line between controlling and the micromanaging, because it's not good for the company, it's not good for your team if you keep like asking the same question. So when is it going to be done? When is it going to be done? And so on. It's, from my perspective, better to create an environment where you can trust each other, but also create a task tracking mechanism that is transparent, and there's no need to ask such questions. Let's use rather dashboards to transparently communicate those questions rather than asking individually whether tasks have been done, because you will then dive into the micromanagement area and it's really hard to get from the micromanagement area. Coordinates different specialists and directs them towards a common goal. Again, this is typical for the way how you work, whether you're in a more traditional way of work, waterfall, or you're in an agile way of work. With the agile way of work, there are some of the guidelines that you have to follow, and you then meet those guidelines. You follow the framework, and during the framework, you talk with the specialists, and you're building that relation with them. You also communicate with the clients about the project. Uh, Different ways. You can either keep your client distant, you just keep them informed, but for some of the cases, the clients are the co-creator of the solution. So keep them really close. They're even attending some of the calls you regularly have, and they can even meet some of the team members. Here, I would just say that it needs to be really clearly communicated that there should be no direct communication between the client and your project team. Because if they keep sending tasks and keep wanting something from your team members, they are putting in jeopardy the three imperative. time, scope, and budget. Because when the people talk with the client directly, it's influencing the scope. They can basically work. So project manager also needs to make sure that the communication is set appropriately at the beginning of the project. And then we go to the other bullet points: motivates the team, hires new people, handles dismissal. So this is more related to the team management, related to the soft skills. It's basically how you make other people feel, how you create environment where people can prosper, people can thrive, people can feel happy and appreciated. And there are, of course, a number of courses you can take, but nothing really will teach you the real act or real art of communicating with your team members. You just have to practice it with empathy, with open heart, without judgment, and just trying to understand why is this person not performing, not because that person is a bad person, but maybe something has happened in their life, and I just need to make sure that they are happy, they have my support, and I help them execute their tasks. And then final point: plans, calculates, controls, and approves the budget. Not that many project managers like that, because you basically work with Excel. You work with without a tool. I just want to say that you work with Excel, but then you have to understand the financial cycle of. Sometimes you work with the suppliers, so you have to understand their financial cycles. You have to then understand the tech cycles. You have to understand how the finance works, and sometimes you will have delays. So with that, project manager communicates with the other departments from the team, sorry, from the company, and they're making sure that the third imperative, budget, is really within the frame. You basically cannot go over the budget. If you see some indications, you really have to speak out early on. There are some mechanisms, there are some boards, and you are the one who then have to defend if you're going over the budget, or if you can stay within the budget, or if you're under the budget. So you're the person who really needs to be confident with the finances and with the numbers. But no need to know all the regulations. This is why you have also financial departments. All right. So couple of, I'm not sure how we are with the time, Veronica, if I should speed up or everything is fine. All right. So let's look at the day in the life of a project manager. Based on that, I will say that it's for all the possible ways of work, either agile, waterfall, or if you're working in the other format is also fine. It's actually matching the day-to-day tasks of the project manager. Review the task plan for the day. So ideally, you have a dashboard that you agree on with your team, where you will basically see, okay, what do I have in front of me for today? How is it impacting the whole project? And whether I need to be prepared for it, or I can just go directly to the meeting because I will just pull up the data from some other, I don't know, maybe cloud, some folder, and so on. So reviewing the task plan for the day basically means, are we still within the time? Like all the small pieces we need to deliver, not making any troubles, and I'm able to deliver a project in time. So that first task is related to the time, but also a scope. Like specific tasks could be related, some tasks could be small, sometimes could be more complex. So you are also checking whether the scope is there. If some of the tasks take way too long, it's affecting your budget because you're calculating your project based on the number of variables. One of the variables are the people. And the more hours you spend on some tasks, the more expensive it gets. So you see, this task you can just review from all those three imperatives: timeline, budget, and quality or scope. Checks emails and messages to keep up with the important messages from the client. Here, my advice would be to not use your email for the subscription services or for some other services, because your inbox will be flooded with it. And you just want to be really sure that only work-related emails are in your inbox. Today, even like Office 365, in this case, Microsoft, I think they already offer Copilot, which is an AI solution for you to manage your inbox in a better way. And my proposition would be to create logic and to create order in your inbox. So it's also not consuming a lot of your mental power. Moderate regular morning meetings or calls with the teams. This is, I would say, optional that you need to moderate every call. Sometimes you can delegate the facilitation of the call to the specific colleague or specific role. It all depends on the way how you work. But generally, it comes from the seniority. Project managers do tend to moderate the meetings, and it's a good practice that the person who sends out the call, online call, is the person who is the facilitator and the moderator. Have one-on-one meetings with some of the team members. This is linked to the overall team management and sometimes talent management of your team. Because we work under the pressure, a lot of people work under the pressure. There's always something going on. And I think it's wrong if you assume that people are like just like one and zeros, that you just need a person, he's going to execute or she's going to execute, and then they will do something else. So we really need to treat those people as persons with their souls, with their troubles, and so on. And even though it's not always written that you have to have those one-on-one calls on a more human level, it really helps you to understand what kind of people set you have in your team, and how can you be their servant leader, so to speak, to help them prosper and to also help you prosper with the project. Then you'll need to update the project risk log. So everything that is basically putting your project in danger is a risk. If something goes wrong, you will go over the budget probably. If something goes wrong, your scope won't be delivered. If something goes wrong, you will not deliver your project in time. So project manager needs to be really vigilant about all those risks current, but you cannot be paranoid, really. So you have to find this really nice line that, okay, I'm aware of the risks, but I'm not paranoid that everything is going to put me in misery and put our project in misery. Update the project documentation. There's a practice that we tend to go with automation. Ideal case is that if you update, for example, one data set, your whole dashboard will be updated. People can see it, and there's no need to manually update multiple streams of documents. But if you work with ideally one folder, one dashboard, this is a sweet spot for every manager. But this is not always the case, because when you're working with the client, that is, for example, I know some company, you need to also communicate with their systems. You have to adjust. Then your company would have your set of systems, your set of tools that you're using. Right now, we're using Zoom. We'll be using other tools during the exercise. So in this case, you are adjusting to Beatrice Academy. And but it's also good if you understand how those tools work, because at the end of the day, those tools tend to be similar because of the user experience. And once you learn one, it's high probability that the other similar tools would follow the same logic. Create a report for the various week and send it to the client or other managers on the project. It's not always the case, but it's a really good practice that you close the week strong, or you close the specific time period of your project strong. Ideally, those kind of communication types need to be pre-agreed with the client, with the team members, so they also expect them to come, and you're not bombarding your clients, your teammates with those reports on a daily basis, but in a preset basis, in this case, a weekly basis. Brainstorm with the team's technical lead on how to improve project performance. This goes hand the risks we have and the risks that might come, and also making sure that all the tasks that we will work on in the future, near future, mid-term, long-term future, that we are able to meet a specific criteria, because the industry is really moving rapidly depending on the area you are at. But now AI is making a big disruption. So it's really good if you keep checking the possible quality aspects of your work, because if you neglect it, it's going to come at you in a couple of maybe weeks, months from now. And this is called technical debt. That means that if you're not investing at the moment for specific technology, for a specific way of work, you will be pushed do it, but maybe later. And because you haven't invested early on, it's going to pain. It's going to cost you a lot of money, a lot of time. And that's why it's really good if you speak with those technical people to understand how can you improve, but also meet some standards, or maybe be a pioneer, experiment with something. And then final example we have here, create a task plan for yourself for the next day. I'm not sure what the Latin word for is, but it basically means that it's, I think it's from the movie with the Robin Williams, that he was an English teacher, and they had this saying that you have to seize the day. You basically have to close the day.
Memento Mori, I believe.
Yeah, I think it's this one. Yeah, Temo Amori. And so this is what those project managers tend to do, that you close the day mentally, but in this case, from the project perspective, and you're planning for the next day. Now everything remains how it is. No need to overthink, no need to have nightmares. Just leave as it is, wake up the next day and see what is ahead of you. And then you repeat the cycle. All right, feel free to ask as many questions as possible. Maybe you have some tasks that are not mentioned here, and we can discuss during the Q&A. All right, so now I think we can practice, Veronica. So let's
Yeah.
share the link with the team, and then I'll just show you the Miro board, the tool we'll be using for this exercise about the risk register for the upcoming trip.
Yes. So the link already in chat, feel free to click on it. In case it asks to like register or login, you can just use your, well, I think Google option, like Google account is the easiest, the fastest. And then it just should be added to the Miro board. No worries, we'll take care of you there. But just for now, log in, join the board, and we'll see you there.
Yeah, and once you're
I
there,
already see a person. By the way, I believe, I'm so sorry, David. I believe it's not even like compulsory to register. I believe you can join as a guest or something. That's also
yeah.
completely fine, just as long as you can be here with us and participate. That's all we need, actually.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
All right, so let's wait for people to arrive, to come here, Miro board. Once you're here, I'll just show you maybe as we wait, that it has almost infinite zoom out, zoom in. So if you're not sure where we are, just try to zoom out, and then there is only those 3 frames. So then you can just zoom back in, and we'll be focusing on this empty frame with this caption come up with, and this is the task. So I will talk about the task once we have more people here.
Yeah, by the way, in case you're watching from the mobile device, like a tablet or again, mobile phone, I believe it's also possible. There is for sure an app version of the Miro board, but I believe you can also do it in the browser, but on your like mobile app or, I'm sorry, my mobile or tablet. So I still believe you can join us. In case not, and you prefer to stay in the YouTube, feel free to do that, but just to participate in the activity and maybe write your responses in the live chat so I can add it to the Miro board so we can see the fuller picture, if that's the most comfortable way for you.
Of course.
By the way, I see all the questions. Thank you so much. Again, just in case you don't remember, we'll cover them on the Q&A session, so just they will be in one place. I see them all. We won't miss them. No worries. I think we will start little by little, and if the people join, we'll just drag them to the place and invite to the activity.
All right, so I will set the stage for you, and also for the people who are watching. So one of the tasks for the project manager to follow or to work with are the risk items. So you have to keep your risk register or risk log, and you have to maintain some really healthy way of understanding the risks and the managing the risks. Here you have a unique opportunity to have a negative thinking head, and you can think like, okay, like this project, I want this project to fail, or I'm afraid of this project to fail. So even if you look at it, I want this project to fail, or I'm afraid that this project will fail. Both of the thinking areas are making sure that your project fails from this aspect. And sometimes it's easier for us to come up with the with negatives, to come up with the all things that might go wrong. It's a sweet spot for overthinkers. Sometimes I am, I have to admit, overthinker. But I think it's healthy for us to sometimes overthink because it helps us analyze all the possible situations. And our answer should be that we're gonna fight those risks. We're gonna survive. We're gonna make sure those things will not appear. But it's good to think that those things may occur. So I want you to come up with this negative scenario mindset, but we will use it to our advantage to make sure those risks are handled appropriately. So let's imagine you're planning a trip. You're going on a trip. I leave it up to you whether you're going by bus, train, by plane, whether you're going to go to sea, to the mountains. It's really up to you. But I want you to come up with as many as possible risks that will put your trip at jeopardy, that your trip will not happen, something terrible is going to happen. So I want you to not think that much, just come up with as many risks as possible, and then we'll take it from there, and I'll be facilitating what we see. Please place those risks here within the frame and take the post-its that you see on the top to the frame. You click on a post-it and you can just start typing. As many as possible. No need to overthink, but I want you to overthink with the risks.
Yeah, and also think on all scales. For example, I'm actually going on a trip very soon, and that's a very special trip because we also have two birthdays planned into
Yeah.
this trip. So one of my biggest risks is that I will forget the presents
Yeah.
for the people. So that also counts. So anything from, missing your transport, forgetting something, all you can think about, just write it in on the sticky notes. I will also
Yeah.
drag a bit of you for here.
Maybe
I will also check the YouTube chat. Maybe we have some
sure.
answers there.
Yeah. Or you have been to the trip couple of days, couple of weeks, couple of months from now, and something bad happened, but you don't know how to handle it. Feel free to place it here as well. And so project in this case, a trip. So your trip, summer trip, holiday trip, I know, bachelor trip, what else? Bachelorette trip.
Just
Yeah,
a vacation, visiting
yeah,
someone,
ski
anything.
trip, bike trip. Because I see that some of the people are taking it really professionally and they talk about projects. So in this case, the people who are going to the trip with you will not go to the trip. So employees leaving the organization basically means it's a professional way of saying that if we were to go on a trip, me, Veronica, and a couple of friends, that the Veronica will not go to the trip. This would be the
And
risk.
mention it last day, the
It's your
last day
last day.
possible.
Yeah, car will break.
Also
Health
valid.
problems, theft. One time it happened, it was actually last year. So we were traveling with the friends and we were going by car and the car trip took like, I think maybe just driving time without breaks, 16 hours. So we needed to sleep over. So we broke the trip in 2 days. And as we were going there, so there was a second trip we had. So one of my friends, he left the car window opened, and then we went there to sleep, and then I woke up in the next morning, and I was approaching and it was my car, and I was approaching the car, and the window was down, and my immediate like think it was, oh, we got robbed, we got like there was a robbery, but then I was like, but it doesn't look broken, like it looks actually fine. So we check all the things, and then one of my friends, he just forgot to roll back the window. And the funny thing is that the lady knew about that because she saw it in a camera, but she didn't go to her room to knock on the door to tell us, hey guys, your window is down. So to us, it felt like, okay, it's probably a safe area. And she evaluated that it was a risk for us, but it was not a risk for the location. So that's one thing we had. Then 2 years ago, we were going the same group of friends trip, but there was a 1 day trip. 1 day, 1 day, no, sorry, 1 day of driving trip, 10 days. We were going by the car again. And it was like 1,000 something kilometers ahead of us. It was Sunday evening around 11 p.m. So we were like traveling at night. And we were 2 kilometers in a way, and I got flat tire. So then it was Sunday, flat tire. So I need to go to the nearest possible like flat area. I need to put in the reverse tire, but that reverse tire is smaller and you cannot go with the tire on a highway. And it was Sunday, right? So we got there, we tried to solve the situation, but it was Sunday and night. So we managed to get a really acquaintance of ours. So he came, he came to his car shop. He was a little bit, he was a little bit drunk, but he managed to fix the tire. We went to Italy, we got back to Italy, and then the tire just went flat again, but it served the purpose that the tire was fixed just for the trip, and then I need to change the whole tire. So this year, hopefully, we'll not be traveling by car.
With so many like sad cases.
Yeah, but
That's not a surprise.
like we survived, we managed to solve the case. But yeah, let's see what we have here. So flight delayed, pandemic. We'll forget our travel documents. Car will break. Cancel of the flight. Cultural differences. Instability. Yeah. 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 Lost documents. Health problems. Financial risks. Fraud. Like yeah. Some of the countries you need to go with the cash on you. You need to have your cards and so on. Lost
I also
luggage.
really like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to mention that I really like that people chose their colors, the sticky notes and stick with them. That's so
Yeah.
cute.
It helped them. It's yeah. You're keeping your thinking to one decision at a time, so you're sticking with the one decision, and the green is your color. Wrong dates booked. Yeah, it happened to a friend of mine that he actually went to the airport, like all, and he was traveling for business, I think. And so he was traveling for business. He had his date where he needed to be as a freelancer, but he bought the flight ticket 1 month ahead. So he was supposed to go, for example, the 13th of June, but he bought the plane ticket for the 13th of July. So I think then he managed to buy some plane ticket, or he went with the other one, but it was more expensive. So next time I think he was checking the dates really in a more more strict way.
Yeah. I think we have like all of the ideas, at least for now. So maybe let's group them a bit to
Yeah,
see if
sure.
they collide
Of
into
course.
like similar topics, and then go to the second part of the activity.
Yeah, so and this is the common practice for any kind of brainstorming activity, it could not be for the risks, but sometimes you may be coming up with the ideas for the birthday party, for the ideas for the trip, and you will try to maybe merge some of the ideas so you can create a groups. So this is what we're gonna do. So I see lost luggage, lost documents. I think it's like a being afraid something is going to get lost. We'll forget. I think loss it's a different thing because sometimes when you lose something, you might be robbed or you lose documents because you've forgotten the documents. So maybe I'll just put it in the same basket because you're not sure whether you're forgotten or you were robbed, but something was lost or something was taken away from you. Then stuff like weather problems, health problems. I think health we can in a way influence. Financial risks, flight cancellations, and flight delayed. I will put in the same basket. Car will break. Thinking this is something that I will just put in the same basket because of the way of transportation. Your transport is being put in risk. And then I'll see pandemic, wrong dates booked. It's in a way your so it's not loss, wrong dates book, accommodation issues, wrong issues. you're not sure whether it was your mistake about the accommodation or it was that you had wrong pictures. Usually the landlords will give you perfect pictures. So pandemic, it's something you cannot predict. I think pandemic, I hope I'm not gonna offend anyone, but sometimes you cannot predict those things happening. So you cannot predict the instability of the situation for the specific geolocation. And same applies with the health issues. Employee leaving the, I think it's like maybe others, weather problems, health problems, wrong dates, the cultural combination issues. Maybe those would be financial risks. I'll put it, no, it feels like it's different. Sometimes, those grouping could be another activity that you need to also have enough time for. But sometimes you might have maybe others. So here, to me, it looks like others because I cannot link health problems with anything, I think. So those to me feels like others, accommodation issues, pandemic. Maybe if we have something with the uh, maybe I'll just put financial and risks to like scope of your trip. So scope is that you need to have money for your trip and you need to have a place where you can, crash and feel safe during the night. And then wrong dates book, cultural differences, employees leaving the organization. Maybe I'll just, if you don't mind, I'll just retype so it's matching the trip theme that people cancel the trip last minute. Cancel the trip last minute. And those to me, they feel like they could be as others. So here we managed to have 4 groups. So in a way, I would have one group as losing something. Maybe I can just name it. So loss, like a risk of loss. I'll make it a bit bigger. So we have a risk of loss, and you can lose basically anything: your clothes, luggage, documents. You might be robbed. You lose your phone. You might lose your pictures. You maybe are going to propose and you don't have a ring. You never know, so you have to be really cautious. Then risk of loss. Then we have another risk of transportation risk. So I'm going to call it transportation risk. Risk. Another group. Then I have another one. This I would call higher will, something you cannot influence. Higher will. So we don't know what might happen. And this would go with the weather. If you're okay with that, because to some case you can predict the weather, but sometimes it can be unpredictable. And those things I would call others. Others. Others combination issues. So I would call the final group. So we have financial and combination issues. No, financial fraud risk. Not even survival because if you don't have this problem with the accommodation, you can always book another one. Financial risks. So maybe quality of the like trip quality. All right. So let's now see what kind of groups we have. So we have a risk of losing something. Then we have transportational risks. We have a trip quality risks. Accommodation will be not as we thought it would be. We send the money to the person who was not there. We had someone scammed us, so the trip cannot take place because we have no place to crash. Maybe we book a taxi. Someone was supposed to wait for us. They didn't come, and so on. Sometimes higher will, pandemic, instability in area like in Ukraine, weather problems. Can we link it somehow? Like, is it happening in seasons or it's something we cannot predict, and we just have to accept it that there is a higher will that we have to be also aware of. And then we have others, like what if I'm not gonna like the culture? What if it's only an Instagram spot that people just go there, they take pictures, everything look fine, but the people are awful, the service is awful? What if people cancel a trip last time and we are supposed to go maybe, I don't know, 5 people by car, and the person who cancels has the car. So how do we deal with it? Maybe we might have health problems. Are we sensitive to, I don't know, the quality of the food, of the water? Are we traveling to the way where we need to get vaccinated? Stuff like that. So we might have some big health problems because we had health problems before, or we just in a wrong way. Maybe we're booking the flights in a really rush way because someone was pushing us. We are pushing ourselves, and we made a mistake. There was a funny a video that was supposed to be and it's only for the video purposes. And it's basically the differences between the way how dates are for Americans and how dates are for the other or for the rest of the world. So when you have a date with Americans, they have month, day, and year. And for example, it's typical for us that Czech Republic, we have day, month. So you go small, bigger, the biggest. So we go like day, month, and year. And now let's imagine that you'll see on a flyer that Beyonce's or Taylor Swift has a concert on the 5th of the 6th. So 5/6/2025. In your case, is the 5th of June, 2025. So you're planning your trip for the 5th of June, but it was the 6th of May, and you just find out from your phone that, oh, Taylor Swift had a concert that you were supposed to go, but you misread those dates. So those things I also do not like time to time because I think it should be unified. But really, it comes with the practice. We really have to be cautious that things like that might happen, and we really have to be cautious with the dates, especially if you're traveling abroad. All right. I know that we fulfilled the time for this practice, but just to show you how this practice might have continued. So risk identification is one thing, but then understanding, sorry, how do you work with the risks, how do you manage the risks is the other thing. And then one of the tools you can use, and this not only applies for the mirror, but also for the other tools, when you're trying to come up with some metrics. When you like to populate some chart, my advice sorry, my advice would be to look at the templates first. Maybe those templates have been created before by some logic and they work. So let's be inspired by those, and you can just type here risk. And I chose risk assessment, but you might have different templates, different ways of approaching risks. So this is also for you when you're working with or working on some documents. It's good to look into library and to look into templates. But getting back to how this exercise might have continued. So then, and also for you, maybe when you're planning a trip, some of the risks are the risks that have higher probability than the others. Some of the risks have more severity. In other words, if this risk occurs, it's going to create bigger damage than the other risk. And then the other exercise you would then create would be or do that you will be placing those risks in the specific areas. If, for example, we're saying you either you look in the chart here and then you pick the risks, or you take the risk and you're trying to think, okay, and I can do one, I can do actually one group. So for the purposes of this template, those were the pre-filled post-its. I'm gonna delete them all, and let's choose group first, and then I'll just try to think what those risks represent for me. I will actually go with the risks if you're okay with it, because let's see how they can affect us. So let's assume that you will lose your documents. So from my perspective, and again, it depends whether you're the person who keeps losing the documents or you're just afraid. Let's assume that you are just afraid. It might happen, you might be in a rush, it might slip from your bag, you never know. So let's say there would be that the probability would be somewhere here, maybe 40, 30%. Okay, 30%, so that you won't be that scared. But then if that happens, what happens? Like if you don't have your documents, can you go through the check-in? Can you go through the border control? Can you, I don't know, when you go to the accommodation, can you just show that it's really me? It all depends on the maybe will of the people that, okay, if you have it in your as a picture and you just lost your documents, first of all you have to announce it to the police, so you have to announce it. I don't have my documents. I'm afraid those documents could be misused, that they will go to the bank, that they will, pick all my money from my bank account. Should not happen, but you might think this way. So from my perspective, losing a document is a big deal. And we're not sure if it's going to happen, but I would say it's a really big deal. So I'm going to place it here. Theft. It all depends on various circumstances. Are you going to the area that is more dangerous? I don't know if you're going to Brazil, Rio de Janeiro, which I think is in the top 5 most dangerous places. There's a high probability of you being robbed. So let's assume you're going to Rio de Janeiro. And there's a high probability that there will be people who are trying to rob you. But then what is like severity? What are they going to rob you of? Your phone, your money, we don't know, your shoes. Are they going to break into your car? So it depends what kind of theft we have in mind. I have to drink a little bit, sorry. But let's assume that they will steal your phone. And again, it's a problem, right? Because if you don't have your phone backed on the cloud, if you don't have your security code or PIN code or passcode, you just everyone can access your code. A lot of variables are here, but let's assume that they will steal your mobile phone. Again, big thing. In stealing your phone in Rio de Janeiro, maybe you have your documents there. What else, right? So there's risk, high probability, maybe okay, not 100%, but let's say here, but the severity is going to be high for you. We will forget our travel documents. I think it's a better case than losing, because when you forget it at home. It's there. So you don't have to announce it to the police. Maybe if you have them photocopied, you have it on you in your phone. From my perspective, okay, the probability might be low, but also I would keep it as a maybe moderate, because you just forgot them. Oh, I had it on my desk. I just forgot to take it. I checked my camera, check the camera at home. It's actually there. I called my mom. She went there. It's actually there. So for me, it's severity is lower than losing your documents. Losing luggage, again, are maybe you lose luggage because you forgot it in a taxi, or the company lost your luggage because they mixed the planes. So let's assume that again, the probability you never know would be somewhere in the middle. And again, depending what you have in your luggage. Is it only the clothes? Do you have maybe some prescription, some drugs you have to take there? So it all depends what is inside your luggage. But let's assume it's only clothes, swimming, if you're going to the sea or to the ocean, swimsuits, and maybe some, I don't know, sunscreen. So if you lose the luggage, probability, let's say that it's maybe somewhere in the middle. But from my perspective, in terms of the severity, if you have enough money on you and in your luggage you have only items that are not valuable for you and you can buy them at the location, I'll just put them as a medium. So that being said, we have placed all those risks here, and then you have to come up with the action plan. Who is responsible for making sure that risk does not occur? What are the activities we need to do that risk does not occur? So we will completely mitigate the risk. We'll make sure those risks items will not occur. However, if we're still traveling to Rio de Janeiro because we have everything booked, we have to go there. There's no way to mitigate the risk, but to manage the risk. If I'm going to go there, I'm going to keep all my money in the hotel room and I'll have the old phone on me. So if they rob me, I'm just going to give them everything because I have still my most valuable stuff in my hotel, for example. So this is like the one of the possible risk management techniques. Losing documents. So you're not sure whether someone stole it from you or whether you dropped them. Losing documents, how to deal with it. If you know that you're really wrong with it and you're traveling with, for example, Veronica, and Veronica is like having a purse, that purse is attached to her body. She has her hand on her chest where all the documents are. I'm going to mitigate the risk by giving all my documents to Veronica because there's no way she's going to lose those documents. So this is the way how I mitigated the risk and how I approached it, and so on and so forth. So every risk now is opportunity for you to come up with the activity to eliminate the risk, mitigate the risk, or just manage the risk. You just accept it's going to occur, but you want to minimize the damage it's going to create. All right. So we had a little exercise for, I believe, something we might be all familiar with, that you're going somewhere, planning a small trip, and you're afraid something's going to go wrong. We identify those items, we selected, we created the groups, then we use one group to place the risks in this RACI matrix, where we look at the probability of risk occurring and severity or damage, that if this risk occurs, what damage it will create for us. And then we said, okay, how can we mitigate, lower the risk or uh, completely avoid the risk, and so on. And so those are the things that you might do later on this training, but Veronica will tell you more. Or if you already are planning a trip, you can be a mini project manager for the trip or mini trip manager, and you will be really the person who is planning everything and is making sure that you will not be robbed, or if you get robbed, the damage is going to be low. If you lose your luggage, you can still enjoy your vacation. If you lose your documents, you can still enjoy your vacation. So you're making sure that your trip, which is a project, will still be within the time, budget, and quality. And if you see that you might get robbed, ultimately your project is more expensive. So you count with, okay, it's going to cost me more money, but you count with it.
Yeah,
All right, so
thank you
this
so
would be
much.
it. And back to you, Veronica.
Yeah, thank you so much for guiding us through. Okay, I would really like to hear the feedback. How did you like the activity? Do you usually do something like that? For example, for preparing the trip, because that's basically the, let's say, one of the tasks project managers do all the time when like working on the project. And while I'm waiting for the feedback, David, do you mind if I take the screen share?
Sure, of course.
Yes, so then let me come back to the presentation. Of course, after the practice, I would like to tell you a bit more about the course because, of course, where do you start on obtaining a profession? It could usually be a training program. Either you go to like a separate school, a university, or in most cases for the adult people, I believe it's some kind of special training or the course is one of the we offer. And you can see on this like slide all the general numbers that you need to know on the schedule, on the duration, etc. I will tell you also the schedule. So the upcoming group starts on 28th of May. So really, really close, actually, like almost in a week. And David will be your teacher. So you already know the way he communicates, he handles the practical exercises. So he already gave you an idea of how the classes would look like. The um the schedule for the nearest group, let me double check it and tell you, is Monday and Wednesday from 7 till 9 Central European time. David, is that right, I believe?
I think it's from 6. So the same time we have the webinar, it's the same time like Monday and Wednesday.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. In case I'm wrong with the like class numbers and dates and schedule, you can always double check it with our educational advisors when joining the course. But yeah, the start group is really, really close. You don't have to wait a long time to actually join and start the new profession. But I would like to focus on two bonuses that are right here in the yellow. So alongside with the course materials that we're offering to you, which are a couple of several modules that offer you the general understanding of the main basics you will need to cover to join the profession as the junior specialist, we also have a separate AI module because And it's really interesting to see if the AI questions will come up, because they come up from time to time on the whether, AI will take the job from XYZ professional. But yeah, we actually teach you how to use AI both in your day-to-day professional basics, but also in the job search process, which I believe is very valuable, because you even can't imagine, I believe, how many different tools and services exist on the basis of AI to help you train the questions for the job interviews to look and improve your CV and cover letters. And those are really valuable resources, especially if you haven't looked for a job for a long time. You kind of don't have the skills that you need, to go through the interview successfully. There are resources that can help you and teach you. You just know where to find them and how to use them. But also we have a separate bonus, which is a career one-on-one support, which, as you can see, you can unlock during the last month of studies, and then you have 6 months to book one-on-one sessions, 3 of them actually, duration for 1 hour. And it's up to you if you would like to book them all in the last month, like in 2 to 3 days apart, or maybe one for each month, or maybe have one during the classes and then two later on. So whatever suits you. Why it's very valuable? Because you have your personalized agenda. You are the person who decides how to use this time with the recruiter. Either you would like to go through the CV and cover letter and LinkedIn profile, either you would like to focus on job interview simulation. Maybe you would create personal development plan in your career, everything that comes to mind. Maybe just like talking sessions on how to improve your soft skills, whatever. A great opportunity to work with a professional to actually get a job, and it's also included in the Betrayed Academy's programs. As for the way we teach, we use the flip classroom methodology, and you can see the general principles on the left. So you will find all the useful links in the LMS, the learning management system that was designed and developed by Betrayed Academy. It guards all the materials alongside with the lesson recordings and the homeworks in one place, and you will have access to it for all eternity. So you can always come back to the materials to look through them, to maybe prepare for a job interview, or just to make sure you don't forget anything, because to repeat is actually to remember. You will have separate practical lessons with the teacher, with your group and classmates, to have the communication, like enough people to join into groups and discuss and pose questions, but also still not a ton of people. So the teacher, in our case, David, doesn't have enough time and space to give personal feedback on the questions, on the homework, on anything that may come up. And of course, you have separate home assignments for each of the lessons. Both home assignments and group activities during the classes are practical, because the most important thing you have to get after the course are hands-on skills and experiences, because at the end of the day, that's what you are going to showcase on the job interviews, and that's what expected of you when you go to the job, and that's what we give you. And of course, we'll have a separate demonstrations of different projects, interactive activities, tools like Miro board during the classes, personalized feedback on how it works, on any questions you may have, because usually our teachers are very open to asking questions during the lessons. They have a separate time slot to do that, or they are always on the in the messenger, separate messenger we have for the group. You can always come and say hey, I don't know, I can't manage the task, can you please help me? And believe me, teachers are always there to help you. And of course, during the whole course, you will work on a separate project that you will put together during the several months of study to present it as a part of your portfolio to the recruiter. And that's also very valuable to help stand out a bit between all the other candidates on the job market. That being said, one of the bonuses that we offered in the event is a separate career guide and project management. Basically, it's everything we have discussed till this point, but in a handy PDF document you can always access, on the phone while, I don't know, going to market or whatever. You can use either this QR code right now if you would like to check it out, or in case it's not convenient for you, no worries, we'll send the link to this guide in the email that will come to you after the event with the lesson, with the recording, and also with all the materials for you to check and to, remember everything, the most important steps we have discussed today. Another great resource I would like to share with you is actually the blog posts we have on the website of Beetroot Academy, which is a separate part of success stories. Is that in our 10 years of work and presence on the market, we have successfully graduated more than 13,000 students who are employed in 700 companies worldwide. So that at least we counted, and usually they are pretty open to share their experiences with us, both from choosing the profession, so why it was project management or why it was front-end development, also on their studies at Beetroot Academy and how did they find their first job, and what advice they can give you on both studying, finding the field that suits you, and also how to find your job. I think those are very important questions that you may asking yourself right now as someone who is about to switch career or just at least thinking about it. So in case you need motivation and in case you seek advice not from someone like David who has a lot of experience and is already advanced in his career, but from someone like you who was also a beginner not so long ago, those articles are a great place to go and seek guidance and advice and again motivation. And with that being said, I suggest us going to the most important part, which is Q&A session. So again, great opportunity to ask any type of question regarding career, I don't know, education, personal advice, something like that. I already see the questions in the chat. We are about to cover it. But first of all, I'm going to go to the questions that you sent us in the registration form. So David, the first question was, are there any opportunities for people with financial restrictions to find affordable online certification course, such as Prince 2 and Prince 2 Agile? I hope I say that right.
Yep. So in this case, from my perspective, and also respecting that we are here with the Beetroot Academy, so we try to advise Beetroot here. But if we look into more practical aspect, and in your case, Prince 2 and Prince 2 Foundation, those courses and exams are really expensive. I think I have one, but it was my employer who paid for it, and there was a scheme that once every 6 months we needed to announce that, okay, I would like to go to this certification. I provided the business justification. Usually the business justification is you see that you have number of clients who say that you need to have this certification. Otherwise, you will not be accepted during the hiring process. Or you see that a lot of this framework or this methodology is really popular, and it's something that you really feel like that you will advise, that you will advance with this certification. However, because it's way too expensive, and if you're just getting started with the project management, I will ask this question to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT will come up with multiple platforms that you can use. And even YouTube has a really nice resources for you to go with. So to answer your question, and if we go back to the project scope, time, quality, time, and budget, you have to set your budget. Okay, what is the maximum amount of money I can spend for this certification? And in terms of the scope, so is this a goal of the project, in this case, certification? Do I really need this certification for my project? Or I feel like I just need this certification? And then you just have to have a trade-off.
Okay, thank you so much. We also have a question, is there a certificate we offer on our courses? And yes, we do. And it's not a simple certificate that was, created in PowerPoint, but it's a true original certificate. In case you're not familiar, True is a company, a service that issues certificates for the educational and not only the educational problems, I'm so sorry, educational institutions. I'm just looking on the questions right now, so I misinterpret the words. So you can read a bit more about that on our website, but in into the words, these company issues certifications for such institute as, for example, Caroline Institute in Sweden, and in its its specification is that it cannot be copied or stolen from you. So basically, I cannot take your certificate and just cover the name and say that it's mine, because they have a separate mechanism of verification. And once you get issued a certificate for, let's say, Veronica Yakubova for completing the project management course at Beetroot Academy, It will only be mine to use. So no one can ever copy it or use it, or, like fraud someone to be myself, and use it to get a job. It will be only issued for you, but we issue certificates only upon successful completion of the course. What does that mean? You have to attend 80% of the classes live. Of course, life happens, and sometimes you will get to miss classes. That's why the recording of the lessons also exists, but still try to be at 80% of the classes present, and also by successfully completing 80% of the homework. So not just, giving it to David, but having David's feedback and approval that the homework is actually done. So those are two main criteria to get the certificate in Virtual Academy. So it really means that you have successfully completed the course and you have those practical skills you are talking about. Let's switch to another person's question. So they have three questions. Some of them I will answer, and some of them I really like to hear your opinion. So first of all, how long does it typically take to find a job as a project manager after completing a course? So in experience of Virtual Academy students and graduates, I would say up to half a year, usually 3 to 4 months. It depends on the market activity, because for example, of course, we're approaching summer, and at summertime a lot of companies take vacations and the general market activity is lower. But autumn comes and it again rises because they prepare for a new season and start looking for people. So again, summer, especially August and Christmas time, are not the best time to go to a job market for looking for a job, while autumn and spring are more, let's say, proficient months to do so. So it will depend on that. It will depend on the, are you looking job in, let's say, role for the project manager, but at any possible company, any possible topic, or are you, focused on a specific company or specific route you would like to take, because that also influences. But yeah, generally 3 to 4 months. David, in your experience, like beginners, how much time does it take for them to land a job in your field?
I would agree that it all comes with the seasons, and sometimes you cannot predict when, for example, like a company would need that set of project managers or junior project managers. My advice would be here, not only question how long could it take, but to be proactive. Like, I'm not sure where I read it, what was the book? It was about some mental models, and there was one concept called lack surface area, which basically means the more job offers you apply for, the more job opportunities you see, and so on, the higher the probability of you landing a job. So instead of thinking that I will land my perfect job, I just send two CVs and I will land the job, it's rather way too ambitious thinking. So try to be as active as possible, go on interviews, take it as a learning opportunity. And with that, I would agree that within the 3 to 6 months, you can really land a job, but do not give up. Do not feel that if you see one rejection or no communication from the recruiters that you will give up. You just have to keep on going and the job will come.
Yeah, thank you so much. In terms of, this beginner's journey to land a job, in your, again, personal opinion or experience, is it difficult to get a job without prior experience if
Yeah.
you've only completed a course? So you have just graduated. Uh, does it matter that I, for example, just graduated from the course but have no experience in real project management roles?
I actually, with the different platform, I have this experience. And it was a funny thing that I used to teach like project management. And then as IBM, we were working for a company, and I met my previous student on that company, and she managed to land a job as a junior project manager after completing a project management role. But again, you need to keep your eyes open, and those opportunities will occur because you never know how you can use the skills you already have to communicate your junior project management position. You are either coming from the school, maybe you are in a different field, but try to communicate that you can transfer those skills to the new area. And this is what would help her, for example, and what helped me as well.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. Think always, and not about in project management, but always think about how your previous experience can be transferred to another role. And I believe, with project manager, it's relatively easy because if you worked in a team, if you took on responsibility for some kind of project, and a project, it can be like anything. Maybe you took a project on developing like a new strategy of something.
Yeah.
Maybe you managed people to, I don't know, redecorate a house, whatever. It still asks for same skills, soft skills like communication, time management, budgeting, meeting deadlines, also like organizing the work. So those are all the skills that they will look for in a junior project manager. And it doesn't matter that your previous job was like whatever title it had. So focus on the experiences and on the skills.
Yeah.
And it's about the wording, just think about how you can present your previous experience. We have also at Bitut Academy a lot of stories how people use their previous work experience as their, like secret weapon almost. And we have a lot of success stories about how their previous experience actually helped them land a job in project management or any other field. So that's the key, and I agree for wholeheartedly. David, another very important question. What should I focus on most during my studies to increase my chances of getting hired?
From my perspective, try to maybe even already build some portfolio or try to come up with the test project. I know that we will have something during the teaching session, but if you feel like there is something you always wanted to do, you always wanted to try, maybe try to already come up with the portfolio of the projects or a way how you will approach the project. And then this would be one thing. The other thing would be how would you self-present yourself? That means that attending maybe some events, having LinkedIn, buying some magazines that I know that they are focused on a specific industries and so on. So try to understand how the market works, how the industry works, what kind of people are there, and well, the communication takes place. Conferences, meetups, and maybe you have some co-working space where people may go for a coffee. You can go there as well, and you can ask them, hey, it looks like you have a really interesting job. Just could you let me know what your story is? And so on. So for me, try to think how can you self-present yourself, understand how you can network and what is the community, either online or physical, that you may be a part of. And then if applicable, maybe try to come up with the port. I know it's tricky for project managers to have some portfolio, but maybe something that you can show during your self-presentation to the company. Hey, look, this is my style. This is how I would approach the project. And this is what I, for example, done, or did I mention that when I was a student, that I was actually working as a pre-project manager. I came up with the plan, came up with the execution, and I presented my style. So I used it then to my self-presentation. So you just need to show that you have the drive, you have the will, and it's up to them to either accept you or say, okay, maybe we need to move with the other candidates. It's up to them. You do your best and then expect them to make their decision, but don't try to kind of influence their decision. Just be sure that you are a good enough candidate and you have network enough, you understand what you're doing, and you are able to present the outcomes of your work or the outcomes of how you think.
Yeah, I think all a great advice. Thank you so much. Next question is kind of tricky. I'm curious to hear your response. So the person says that they are willing to work hard. So which track to take for the quickest way to get job ready in minimum time?
Mm-hmm. I would define a criteria. Why is it so important for you? Like, why do you want to have job quickly and with the minimum effort? Because maybe this is your style, that you need it to feel like you can get things really quickly and you don't have that you will be basically effective. But I think, from my personal experience, that there's a small amount of people that are lucky enough to have a really good job with the minimum work being done. So my advice would be like, how can you be good enough candidate for the company and how can you land good enough job and just forget about the when or how, but just be focused on you being the best. And whether it's going to take you 2 weeks, 2 months, it's not that up to you, but it's a higher will. You cannot influence the way how market works, but you can influence that you will keep your eyes open and you will make yourself as good candidate as possible. And my advice would be don't be focused on getting things quickly, but like if you get things quickly, good for you. Just be focused on whether you truly understand, you can perform, and you can showcase the quality. So I wouldn't give you a recipe because there is no recipe, but I would advise you to create maybe set of morals for you and try to become as good candidate as possible. Create plan, create strategy, execute on it, and whether it's going to be 2 months, 2 weeks, I don't know how many weeks from now, it's not that up to you, but sometimes to the luck.
Thank you so much. Now we're switching to the questions from the chat. I'm going in the chronological order, so no worries, nothing will be missed. We have quite a lot of them, and I really like a couple of very interesting wording and situations. I'm again really waiting for your responses. So, first one, I believe it's very interesting. I am not a people pleaser and hate dealing with. Is project management for me? How should I deal with the real life corporate scenarios?
Can you say this? Because I missed this. I hate dealing with, and I misheard that.
I'm so sorry, my.
Yeah. And now you're mute. You're mute now.
Oh my God.
You're good. You're back now.
Yeah, you can hear me, right?
Yeah, you now.
I'm so sorry.
Sorry.
So I'll just continue the question. I'm not a people pleaser and I hate dealing with too many people. Is project management right for me? How should I deal with the real life corporate scenarios?
Well, I think we live in a world where we have to interact with other people. So even though you like, I know I'm not a psychologist, but my advice would be like, I would maybe just define what is it I hate about people, about the situations, and then try to understand whether it was the circumstances, maybe something that happened to me in the past, and so on. And then if you think like, because I work with the premise that people are nice, people are trying to help you, and not everyone is just trying to, do something bad to you. So I try to see that there's always good in people, and I try to understand what my position in the world could be. But if you feel like you're not people pleaser and sometimes it's like difficult for you to communicate with people, maybe you had a bad experience, the bad past experience with your colleagues, friends, and so on. So try to maybe just again attend those events, just be observer. You don't have to interact with the people, but put yourself in a position of the company you would like to work for or the industry you want to be in, and be an observer and try to observe how people interact, how they're treating each other. Maybe look for the testimonies, look for some videos. So do your research and then be like, oh, it was actually my personal experience because I had a bad situation, bad relations with the people because of something, but it's actually not that bad in the industry I would like to be in. So that would be my answer.
Okay, thank you so much. The next question, it came up when you were talking about like a successful project. Yeah, so these three, the most important criteria. And the question is, what if you fail to deliver in time, in scope, or especially in budget?
Yep. So you need to communicate those aspects like continuously with the client, ideally. And this is why and how you can use the reporting, the risk management, and a continuous communication with the client. So it's always a better idea to send a weekly report, a weekly comments to your client with also the problems that you had and how have you managed to overcome those problems. And if you see that, but there's a risk that we might go over the budget, this is the risks or risks mitigation tasks we came up with, and we will then inform you that how is it going to influence the risk, scope, or timeline. So to me, it's like, let's imagine you are uh, driving a car, right? And you usually always keep an eye on how fast you go. You continuously monitor it. So that's why I know, oh, I'm not going to get fined because I'm continuously monitoring my speed I'm fine. But if something bad happens, I'm speeding up. I'm just like waiting for the police to occur and then I'm going to be fined. So what I'm just trying to say that project managers and the clients, you should always keep an eye on the speedometer or on your dashboard and whether you're not in the red numbers. And you should always create a story about it, not story that you will make up like excuses, but you will give a narrative. For example, this week we actually managed to deliver more tasks, but next week we have vacations coming up, so we expect actually to deliver less. We'll still be within the time, scope, and budget. But if something goes wrong, communicate it as early as possible, and you will have a framework agreed on with the client at the beginning of the project. Reporting happens either ad hoc, which means immediately if something severe happened, or regularly, and we'll always evaluate on a weekly basis whether we are within the time, scope, and budget. And it's up to the client to decide whether they're okay with the quality aspect. So at the end of the day, it's the client who says, I approve the budget, I approve the scope, I approve the timeline. And it's you to communicate it to the client.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm moving to the next question. So it's like a very detailed personal experience. So I'm transitioning from sales to project management. What should be my top five must to dos to make this transition?
So in your case, when you're sales, you're trying to sell as many products, as many services as possible. So this is for you a process in a way. You're in a process that you collect the materials, you learn about the technology and the product, and then you are in the process of attending maybe conferences, sending emails, and so on. So you have, from my perspective, you have positioned yourself in a process. Like like it's not a project being a sales manager because you keep selling. It's a continuous journey for you. But in order for you to transition, you have to understand that the projects are really limited. And there is a slightly different, maybe rhythm. It's like, again, uh, another comparison. I'm not into triathlon, but in there you have biking, swimming, and running. And it's like when you haven't swum before and you've been only biking, you would have to like learn different moves, right? Understand how the water works, that you are actually slower compared to the bike or compared to the running. And same applies when you're going from sales to the project manager. So in sales, from my perspective, it's a process. You have a process mind. You have a task, you complete the task. You have a task, you complete the task, and you try to sell and you understand how a company works. But then when you're a project, you need to deliver something without selling it first, because then the sales guys will sell it. So not easy answer, I know, not easy question. And again, you have to factor in like how are you transitioning, what technology do you work for, if there's someone that can help you with this transition. But it's just understanding that you're moving from process world to the project world. So start and end. I hope it does answer to some extent your question.
Thank you. The same person also asks, what analogies can I possibly make between my sales experience with project management for this transition during the interview process and in my resume?
Yeah, so from my perspective, sales people are really good in presenting, pitching, communicating, creating stories, and understanding the customer because you're trying to meet their need. And if you're trying to use all those skills to understanding your team, understanding your clients, communicating, I think those would be the areas I would be focused on when transitioning. And then all those technical aspects like what is the process or what is the framework, how you work within the project is something that you will learn, but you already have those skills presenting, communicating, closing deals, getting things done. And then let's be sure that you will get on those hard skills like technology, working with the frameworks, and so on.
Thank you. And also the question from the same person, is a PMP certification mandatory?
To get a job? No, no. You just have to again, it was spontaneous answer, but some companies do require that you need to have certification because the client requires it. It's usually with the government agencies or with the government that when they like to have some specific roles, they also give you like the quality criteria for those roles that you have to have the certification and so on. But it's still better to showcase that you understand and you can do those stuff. So again, transferable skills from your past job or from your past studies, maybe having a portfolio, having a nice cover letter, maybe having a website would suffice in this case. So no need to have specific certification unless the company would like to go to has it as a mandatory item.
Thank you so much. And the last question from this person, how are you leveraging AI in PM roles? Any ideas to get started with?
Um, Sometimes it's good to use it for getting started with the topic. So if you, for example, feeling that you're stuck, that you have to come up with the methodology, you have to, I know, come up with a new dashboarding approach for the finances. You explain your problem to the some AI engine, ChatGPT or some other, and then you expect some results, so outcomes, and then you communicate with them. So from my perspective, I would use AI when getting started to understand how can AI help me with the tasks I don't like or I'm not that good at? Maybe they are way too repetitive for me, or I'm feeling like they're taking way too much of my time and I would like to automate them. So I would do first of all personal audit of what I do, what I like, what I dislike, what I would like to automate, and things from I dislike and I would like to automate. I will try to create a prompt, which means basically a message to, for example, ChatGPT to help me with that. So, for example, I keep forgetting checking my emails. Is there a way to have notification twice a day with a summary of all the emails I have and to see whether there is some urgency that I need to be really cautious about? So I, for example, dislike checking my email and having notifications about the email because I would like to be focused on one specific task. So that's why I would like to find a way how to get things done, automate it, and focus my attention on the things from my inbox that are really crucial for me. I will still review the rest, but I'll be focused on the things that are really crucial or important for me.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. We also have comments that the activity was really fun. Thank you. I'm really glad that you liked it. And also thanks a lot for a great webinar, very helpful and interesting. I'm so glad you enjoyed it. I don't have any, I don't see any questions in the chat for now. I hope all the answers were helpful for you. And let's then move on because this is the part which is available only for the participants of the online event. So thank you so much, first of all, for those of you who have stayed till the end. I know we're a bit late on the timing, so we are out of the scope a bit, but it's for the bonus part at least. To all of the participants who stayed with us till the end, we grant this code word risk that you can mention to our educational advisors in order to get 15% discount for the course. So on the nearest group, which starts on May 28th with David as the teacher, you can get a discount that will make your education as much accessible as possible and not to put out your career switch if you are on the way to changing the way you approach your job. We are eager to help you and just offer you a little bit of help. So the general flow for you would be to set up a free call for the consultation. The link to do that will be in the emails after the event. Just mention the code word risk that you attended the webinar and you have this discount purpose. Then, with the help of our educational advisors, you will have all the instructions in the following up emails. You will register in the learning management system, take a very quick tech test to just get ready for the education, pay for the course in the way that will be the most comfortable for you, either in full price or per month, and then the study begins at the Digital Academy. So I hope the discount portion is valuable for you and you will use it in case you decide to join us. And with that being said, we are done. Thank you so much for your time, for separating an hour and a half of your evening to join us. I hope it was helpful and enjoyable. David, thank you so much for sharing your experience, for answering all of the questions, and for guiding through a practical activity. I congratulate you all with the first step in the project management career. If you would like to continue, we can do that together. So we really hope to see you all as future beats and students of the Bitwood Academy. So hopefully see you soon. Bye bye.
See you soon. Bye.